as UIL state semifinals determine who's moving on to the championships. We now know which teams will be playing at AT&T Stadium in Week 17, and Greg Tepper will help us break it all down. Also, a small-town team dealing with tragedy feels the support of the entire Texas high school football community. We'll have that story. Plus, a team that was 5-5 at the end of the regular season is now a state champion in TAPPS. They're the Bishop Lynch Friars, and they're our guests tonight. And so are you for the next 30 minutes on the Chevy High School Sports Special, starting now.
This is the Chevy High School Sports Special, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Chevy drives Texas.
We've got more playoff coverage on the way, and we'll talk to the TAPPS champion, Bishop Lynch Friars, when the Chevy High School Sports Special continues. While the UIL schools get ready to decide their state champions this week, TAPPS winners were crowned last week. In Division I, Bishop Lynch held on to beat Bishop Dunn for the title. A 5-5 team in the regular season, now state champions, and some of the Friars join us here tonight. They are head coach Chuck Fawcett and several of his players. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Coach, we'll start with you. I heard in your post-game interview you told your team last spring that they would win a state championship. What percentage did you actually believe that?
Well, I did believe it. They must have thought I was out of my mind when I said it, but that was the first time I addressed them. I told them we were going to win the state championship, and I told them that we would beat our rival Bishop Dunn, and how fitting to do that in the state championship.
Broderick Watson is a senior defensive lineman. You guys had a big celebration with the Bishop Lynch community yesterday. Can you tell us about that?
It was a lot of fun. We all got together on the field and we just celebrated, a great run in the playoffs. And we got the best fans in the state, so a lot of fun.
Cole Garcia is a junior guard. You guys were 4-5 heading into the final regular season game and had to win to make the playoffs. So how does a team that nearly missed the playoffs win a state championship?
Well, that week we refocused ourselves. We really bought into the all-in message that Coach had been preaching all year. From the freshman team all the way up to the athletic director, we all bought in. We all worked hard, had the best we could practice, and we just hit our stride at that point, went on a 5-game run streak.
Michael Mendito is a senior and Lynch's only two-way player on both sides of the line. Coach talked to me before this interview about the seniors buying in, and Cole just mentioned that too. Can you talk about that and how it helped you get to this point?
Well, Coach Fawcett is an unbelievable coach, and when he came in, he said that we were going to be done and we were going to win the state championship, and we thought he was a little crazy, but through the season, we started believing, and he really helped us believe in ourselves and this program.
I'm going to follow up with that because you said throughout the season you started believing kind of like it's a linear line, but if you guys are 4-5, how do you keep believing when the season is kind of going that way?
Well, Coach Fawcett was talking about we would have been 8-1, 21. We were 21 points away from being 8-1, and that really got us thinking that we could really beat everyone that we went up against and win the state championship, and that's what really made us believe.
Daniel Packard is a junior linebacker. The game ended with a defensive stop, but that stop came after you couldn't stop them. A 22-play drive for Dunn that ended with a 4th down incompletion. So talk about that drive and finally forcing the turnover on downs.
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy drive. We stopped them a couple times on 3rd down, and we just couldn't get off the field. They converted a fake punt and just kept running the clock down. And so they had to call a timeout because the clock was running out. And in the huddle, I was talking to Coach Fawcett, and we said, "We got you, Coach, don't worry." And he repeated the question. We said, "Don't worry, Coach, we got you, don't worry." And he just walked off. We ran out there, and we just talked to each other, said we got each other's back, and we just produced, and they couldn't do anything to stop us. So.
Coach, from your perspective, tell me about that conversation you had in that huddle.
Well, the clock was running out. I believe there was like 40 seconds left, and it was 3rd down, and we called the defense, and it didn't look like they were lining up in it. So I sprinted down to the ref and called timeout, and I'm a little animated on the sideline, as these guys know. And I came out in the field. I'm like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" And they're like, And Packard with he goes, "Coach, we got this." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, we got it. We're disguising it." And I said, "Okay." And I walked back over and I folded my arms, and the next 2 plays I watched them unfold and watched them not be able to convert on the 4th and 9, and we won the state championship.
That is awesome. They are the Bishop Lynch Friars, state champions in TAPPS Division I. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Week 17 is here. The Bishop Lynch Friars have their state title. Now the UIL teams will decide theirs starting Wednesday with 1A games all the way up through the 6A finals on Saturday. We'll have the full recap for you right here next Sunday night. Thanks to Coach Fawcett and his players who joined us tonight, and thanks to all of you for watching the Chevy High School Sports Special. I'm Ted Madden. Good night and have a great week.
This has been the Chevy High School Sports Special, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Chevy drives Texas.